as would be expected, doesn't want the Iron Throne and wishes he would have never heard who his biological parents are. Following Jon throughout the seasons, we know one thing.
No, nothing, Jon Snow. Oh.
Two things. Jon is honorable. He just doesn't want power to have power. He cares about life. He values it. Arguably, more than Dany does.
Don't want to overfeed them.
I offer you a choice. Bend the knee and join me. Together, we will leave the world a better place than we found it. Or refuse. And die.
That reveal that Jon is the heir to the Iron Throne and that Dany is his aunt was an emotional gut punch, especially since Jon never wanted the throne. So Kit Harington and John Bradley have been doing interviews, and recently they talked about the big reveal of who Jon's biological parents are, Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark.
Your mother was Lyanna Stark. And your father, your real father, was Rhaegar Targaryen.
Kit shared with EW that it was the most upsetting thing in the entire world that Jon could have learned, and he wishes he could go back in time and tell Sam, whatever you're going to tell me, don't. It's so sad because Kit went on to explain that Jon would happily unlearn that information and remain ignorant. And he also said to EW, "He's not hard to predict, Jon. He doesn't do many unexpected things. You mark the particularly tricky scenes that you're going to have to concentrate on, and this was one. He finds out a massive piece of information. Not only does he find out who his mother is, but also that he's related to the person he's in love with. It's hard for any actor to play. It's not a 2-hour movie, but 8 seasons of playing a character who's finding out." I think Jon will struggle with accepting both sides, his Targaryen side and his Stark side, but if he decides that he can't be both, well, you're a hypocrite, Jon.
You don't need to choose. You're a Greyjoy. And you're a Stark.
Anyways, Kit shared that after Jon got the information from Sam, he was barely containing himself and enraged, saying, "The key to it is the audience already knows, so it's not a shock to them. With Jon, it's about what he says. You're telling me my father lied to me? My father, the most honorable man I've known my entire life. You're saying that?" For that moment, Samwell is nothing to him. Jon would disown this friend and beat him up if he was trying to lie to him about this. He's quite threatening. You're telling me this. You better be fucking right. And if you're trying to play me, that was the way to play that scene, I think. I hope it was. Which we clearly saw with that stare down. That was intense. Now, what you're probably most interested in is the fact that Jon doesn't want the Iron Throne, despite being the heir to it. And before you start any bullshit arguments about who actually is the legit heir to the Iron Throne and conquest and blah blah blah, it's what they're going with in the show. Calm down. Calm down. So Kit stated, "That's the thing I love about Jon, his purity. He doesn't fucking want it. He doesn't want that fucking information. He doesn't want to know. He has no ambition for the throne. He's never wanted that. The end of the world might be coming soon, but at least he's in love with somebody and knows who he is." And then comes this sledgehammer. You know the trope that the person that least wants power is most deserving of it? Yeah, that's Jon. We're pretty much setting up at this point that Jon pushes Dany away. Dany ends up dying in childbirth because, of course, Jon managed to knock her up. They paid way too much attention to Dany's uterus last season. Way too much attention. So Jon rejects her. They separate. Dany probably goes back to Dragonstone, where she delivers her baby. She dies in childbirth. Jorah's with her. sobs uncontrollably. It's super fucking terrible. But in the end, whatever's left after the Night King is defeated, Jon ends up ruling. He sits what's left of the Iron Throne, or maybe there's a new Iron Throne. I don't know exactly. It's just, that's Jon's bittersweet ending. He lives, so it's sweet. He lives. He knew 2 great loves, arguably. But in the end, he has to rule people and be in charge of things that he never wanted. Jon never wanted power. On top of that, I don't think Jon is going to marry Dany before she dies, and Jon never wanted a bastard. Never. That was his big thing about not wanting to start a family. He was so concerned about creating a bastard. So if he now has a bastard child with his aunt, and he is now ruling over people, which he never wanted, that's hell. He's alive, but that is hell for him. Jon lives his hell every fucking day. In fact, Dave Hill, writer for the first episode of the final season, expanded on this and how Jon just does not want the Iron Throne, saying,
"One of the things Jon always clung to is that at least his father is Ned Stark. This incredibly honorable, beautiful man. Ned was his idol growing up. Now my father is not my father lied to me, and I'm actually the thing I want to be least in this world, an heir to the Iron Throne, and a rival to the woman I love."
Does anyone else see a pattern lately where Jon feels like he has some happiness or he's doing good and it just all blows up in his face? It seems to just be his lot in life, and it is terrible.
No ways to find out. Where is he? Over there.
Finally, John Bradley, whose character is understandably anti-Dany at this point, said,
"Jon feels Sam is muddying the name of one of the most noble people he's ever known, and that his entire life is built on a lie."
My father was the most honorable man I ever met. You said he lied to me all my life.
You know the Beatles' White Album? Just towards the end is Revolution 9, which is a very sinister soundscape. The inclusion of that on the album makes you doubt what you've heard before it, makes the rest sound darker and more dire. You thought you had an angle on the album, but that track means nothing you've heard before can be trusted. With Jon, he can review his entire life backwards and see everything completely different and in sinister terms, even if withholding his parentage was done for the right reasons. Everything he's done seems to have been compromised. He didn't take it well, but coming from anybody other than Sam, he would have taken it worse.
That I almost don't agree with. I feel like when Jon looks back to what Ned did, it's not a sinister thing, unless he's saying he looks back and realizes how sinister his upbringing was because at any moment he could have been killed for whose child he was.
If Robert finds out, he'll kill him. You know he will.
But I don't think Jon has any reason to view Ned in a negative light. Ned sacrificed one of the most important things to him, his honor, to keep a promise to his sister and to protect his sister's son.
You have to protect him. Promise me, Ned. Promise me.
Jon is simply a victim of a prophecy, much like I feel Cersei's children are, but that's a different video. Now, if you think this information won't get out and no one will learn that Jon is Rhaegar Targaryen's legitimate child and heir to the Iron Throne, it's absolutely getting out. Jon is too honorable, and besides that, even if Jon was like, hey guys, let's stay hush-hush, Bran and Sam are not going to be quiet about this. That is why there are so many images of a really pissed off Dany.
In the end, Jon's biological parents are going to be known. Jon is going to have issues with his relationship with Dany, and people are going to push him for the throne. Jon, despite never wanting power, sits a throne he never wanted, doing a job that can only be done by him because he's the chosen one, Azor Ahai, the prince that was promised. He embraces his destiny, but with no happiness, only duty.